with that, let's tell you what has been happening as far as the Iran war is concerned. Eric gets us more on it. Eric, over to you.
All right, Shreya. When the United States president took oath in January last year, many in America and even allies across the world had hoped that Donald Trump would make good on his promises of finding what he called stupid wars and heralding a golden age for America. But in just over a year and a half of his tenure, the US president has fallen from grace and fallen short of his promises to his voters and to his allies. In more ways than one, let's take a walk down memory lane. One can say that this image is where the Donald Trump's popularity peaked. A close save in an assassination attempt during an election rally in July 2 years ago. This image, the image of Trump with a bleeding ear and fist in the air, positioned him as a defiant leader. 4 months later, in November 2024, Donald Trump swept the presidential elections and formally took oath in January last year. No sooner did he assume presidency, a wave of announcements began, and many of them had global repercussions. Within 3 months, Donald Trump officially announced tariffs on all of US trade partners. More than 180 countries and territories braced for impact in what Trump called Liberation Day for the United States. From that moment, a flurry of meetings began in the Oval Office. Leaders from world over reached the doorstep of the White House, looking for a way to reduce or eliminate the tariffs altogether. Many countries also reached out to each other in a bid to create an alternative trade partnership. But exceptions emerged, and one of them was in China. Xi Jinping went toe-to-toe with President Trump over tariffs. The matter escalated to both sides, announcing retaliatory percentages in hundreds. But ultimately, Trump backed down, struck a reconciliatory tone, and in May this year, even visited Beijing to meet China's president. But China still has control over export of critical components and dual-use technology. From one leader that Trump could not tame, we move to another important one, and that is the Russian President Vladimir Putin. On August 15th, it will mark 1 year since the Alaska summit. See that image? Where the presidents of the United States and Russia met and talked about peace conditions and demands in the ongoing Ukraine war. Big statements were made back then, but Donald Trump, as he repeated the claim of calling himself the peace president, little has changed in the last 1 year. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has spoken to Trump and the US administration several times since then. But when it comes to peace talks, there is no progress from either side, and Trump's role as a broker has been overshadowed by intensified strikes between Ukraine and Russia of late. Let's now talk about a war which Donald Trump himself began, and that is in Iran. After lashing out at previous American administrations for being involved in wars thousands of miles away, the US carried out joint strikes with Israel on Iran. Trump had stated a series of goals for this war: a non-nuclear ban, possible regime change, and several other such promises. 5 months later, Iran's Islamist rule remains intact, and talks on a new nuclear agreement appears to be fading. Just 2 days ago, we spoke of a report which mentioned that Trump may agree to a ceasefire deal without a formal nuclear agreement. The Iran war has also hurt Trump's popularity at home. In July 2024, when Trump was campaigning, 53% of Americans were confident that he is going to be a good leader, or he's going to handle the war scenarios as well. But in July 2026, that dropped to 29%. The approval rating as far as the ban or the Iran war is concerned. This was a small glimpse into a few such global diplomatic instances. The domestic scenario is a whole other story. But just as an example, Let's look at how one issue has panned out from an election promise to backlash. The issue is of immigration and deportation. Trump had promised the biggest deportation in American history when he signed an executive order in January last year. But in the months after that, ICE agents have made headlines for their brutal crackdown and also shooting dead several Americans, of which 2 were citizens of the country and were merely acting as observers. The US president has defended immigration officials in their actions, and the administration has also pushed for greater funding for ICE. There are a mountain of issues that President Trump faces criticism on, but even today, the US president, in typical fashion, if extremely sure of his decisions and leadership, the latest instance of that is Trump's own statement on everyone wanting him to contest elections again. This is what he said.
Everybody asked me that question, and you know that the law is very strong on that. I'd love to run, but the law is very strong. I get asked by well, even tonight they're screaming at the event, 2028. Now, everybody wants me to do it, but the law is very strong.